Hello, welcome to the Low Code Campfire. This is episode number 257 for Friday, August 21. This is an open lines Friday, but we do have a topic submitted in advance, so we will have something to talk about, plus whatever you want to talk about. I am Dale Warner, head of support for Plant an App, and this is an event that we do most Fridays at 10 a.m. Central Time, where we get together and talk about all things Plant an App and the things that you're working on, the experiences that you have. If you have something that you want to show or ideas or suggestions, welcome and please bring them. All skill levels are welcome to this event. We record all of them, put them on YouTube at youtube.com/plantanap. So heavily recommend that you subscribe and watch each episode and replay at least two or three times. We record, let's see, we run this agenda week by week. We stop and say hello because we're a friendly group. And then we always start with first call and anything you've submitted. Then we take a look at things that have been submitted to our Campfire website or on the community forum. Talk about feature requests, really anything Plant an App. And then after an hour or so, we go into our Afterglow segment. That's where we turn off the recording, hang out for a few more minutes, and talk off the record. So do engage with us. Jump in, show and tell. Uh, you can use the chat window. Lots of people raise their hands. You're a very, very polite group. I appreciate it. You can submit questions and topics in advance. That's support@plantanapp.com. I'll do a little bit of research, maybe do a little bit of writing. You never can tell, but we'll bring it to the group and we will address whatever it is that you want to bring into it. And with that, I will stop and say hello, one and all.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, hello.
Good morning.
Good to see you. Don was the one that submitted something in advance, so we definitely have something to talk about, and
Ooh.
your experiences on that will be useful because I'm sure some of you have implemented some of this in the past. Anyway, we'll start with first call. What did you bring to talk about today? Anybody's anything? All right, Don moves to the head of the line here. Um, so this is, I think, a pretty common scenario and getting more so every day. So Don wants to make a form, or well, let's see. I could read this, but Don, maybe you can explain exactly what you're trying to do, and then we'll dive into it.
Sure, I'd like to make a form that has an email field. So this is like the robot that reads your screen for you. I'd like to make a form that has an email field. Once the field is filled, a pop-up says, "Let's verify that." I won't do that anymore. Sorry. But my issue is that I have several forms that somehow need to get a verification that, yeah, this is indeed a good email. And I have an important form. We've talked about vote by mail systems that I've done for some client for some counties, and the application is not complete until they go to their email and click the confirm button. Then it's complete. So I've even had to build a system after the fact that lets the administrators remind individuals that they haven't received the email, the confirmation yet. So they have a little reminder button, and they'll always that happens. But I would like to eliminate that and make sure that when the county gets the application, it's done. I mean, they that's how it works. But I mean that they'll get more of them, and they'll get less people not clicking that thing, assuming, I think they get it. I think they forget it or they not sure what they're getting. But regardless, I want it to be integral to the system. So I thought it would be smart before they even put all their information in to do this verification for their email before they put the rest of the stuff in so they know they're not done.
Cool. So I added color to your words. I looked at some things that I think each one of these is a little bit of a topic. So opening a pop-up is a topic. Sending an email, generating a six-digit random code, Those are all topics. Setting a field back verified to true so that you know that something happened. As you were explaining, before we dive into some of those details, as you were explaining it, it sounded, I want to make sure that uh, I heard you say something to the effect that there might be multiple forms that might want to use the same capability. Is that true?
there's multiple applications where I have forms that I would like to have this same capability. Um, yes,
So that kind of adds just another dimension to it, right? There's no question that we can build. I mean, right, an app does pop-up forms, all these things, all these technical things. It's just a question of how they get wired up. But then there's also if we set as a target that this is a generic capability, uh, which would be cool.
I guess see where you're going.
So now
Yes,
you
it's
could wire
basically
the
the
same
same
thing
service
into
that any
every form
form
that
would.
you build. And so that's
Cool.
yet another thing. So and I think that could be done with an embedded form. So before we dive down this build a solution, any of you on the call have experience in this area and things that you would point out or questions that you'd ask before we just dig in?
Um, so we do this, and um, and I think you all know because I've talked about it before that we have um we use OTPs in a lot of ways for authentication on the site, and yeah, we also when somebody registers, we confirm their email with an OTP. And I have a workflow that we use in all those different use cases. We use the same workflow for sending the OTP. So that's a pattern that we use.
And when you say you have a workflow for it, does that include like a embedded form or a form a path that gets them into that and then back? Or
Yeah, so there's a lot of complexity around it, and probably the complexity that I've done may be overkill for some of you, um, but yeah. So the workflow both generates the OTP and then sends it through their choice of. We'll just stick to email. So
Mhm.
it sends it to their email and then there's a separate workflow for verifying that the OTP they sent that they enter is matching the OTP that they were sent. So there's a bunch of stuff going on there. But then for the registration process, once the OTP is verified, um, so there's one form that does the OTP verification, and then once we confirm that the OTP they've entered is correct, then the rest of the registration process is in another form that they don't get to see until the OTP is confirmed.
Yep. And yeah, so it might uh, just to kind of level set, I think that's a good you're talking about an email based one-time password, but um, what other avenues might someone choose for aside from email?
Well, I guess we're doing an email verification in this particular case, so we're only using the email process then. But we also have, the same workflow can also process an OTP to SMS, WhatsApp, and phone call.
Nice. All right. Um, there's a couple of so without objection, I'm just going to dive into a couple of the pieces of this thing and go from there. Any objection?
No, great.
So one of the requirements is you said a six-digit code. I had and hadn't put it in Campfire before, but I've added it to Campfire now. Um, a token to generate that, and I put it in utility as random verification code as a token. And so every time that you use this particular token, you get a six-digit number. Um, and so that's one small piece, but it's um, it's going to be needed here down the line. Um, there's lots of different ways to do this, but I did it as a SQL, so a database, so a token that is a database query, and I have some parameters in here, but um, it's generating uh, a number up until from 0 to 800, just one short of 900,000, and then I'm adding 100,000 to it because I always want it to be a six-digit number, right? So this ensures that it will always be a minimum of six. So the result is it's between 100,000 and one short of a million. You could adapt these numbers down, remove some zeros and make it be a five-digit number or a four-digit number, depending on how a lot of the security codes that you see are six-digit numbers. I've done one that's a five-digit number, but it's easy. It would be easy enough to adapt that. So um, ends up, and you could also parameterize this if you wanted to be complex, but using token params. But this will give you that. And so that's utility random verification code. So this could be a copy and paste, and export
Right.
into your project. So
That's
that's,
great. I didn't think of it making it as a token. That's perfect.
yeah. And so, I mean, going back into the context of what you're trying to do, being able to generate a random code so they can't pre-guess it or everybody doesn't get the same code kind of thing. And then your your form is going to have access to that. Um, and so you're sending it in an email. Now they get the code, they can key in the number, and then you can do the comparison. I'll point out as we do this, as I've thought about this stuff before, there's like uh, you need to think through um, easy security. I mean, is this you're verifying that it's an email and they're getting it? How secure do you want to be in this? Because, for example, if we build a form that generates a six-digit code and we put the six-digit code in a hidden field so that when they key it, we can compare it. Does the code that we sent out in the email match the code um, that they just keyed in? Um, the uh, if the code is in a hidden field on the form, then it would be possible for somebody who's got some hacking skills or even not much hacking skills to open up the form, look at the hidden field, and get it that way. So um, sometimes the easy way is sufficient for what you're trying to do, but you might need to um, for example, make sure that if it really counted, you could make sure that the code gets generated and stored on the server or someplace that's not accessible from the browser so that they have to receive the email in order to receive the content. So that's kind of its whole topic. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Um, And then let's see, there's another piece of this puzzle, setting a field verified true. So the idea is you're doing this as a pop-up form. You want to the underlying form to when that form closes down, you want it to know that it's gotten the thing that it, it that it if you set a field to verify it to true, that's the way you defined it, then your form could key off of that in terms of revealing more fields or allowing the submit to function. So you need to communicate that back. There was here in Campfire, there's a piece of that puzzle. Um, and I had it here a minute ago. Uh, uh, make sure sure here I don't. One moment, the boss is texting me.
Mhm. While
Registration.
you're doing that, I'll just add one more thought on the verified equals true. And I was doing that because I thought that I needed to create a record right when the person is there for a couple reasons. And then that means that there is a record in the database, but I have not yet proven that their phone number is verified. So I need the verified equals true. Another way of doing it is somehow the keeping track of the information I've collected so far, maybe session variables, maybe before actually creating a record in the table of applications. And so the fact that there is a record means it's verified, you know. But
Mhm.
either way, it's good to know the technique you're about to say in case somebody needs to make sure that this particular record is verified.
Bogdan is trying to get in to them. He wants to attend here, and saying it's closed. Registration is closed. That's a new one for me. So let me find my meeting controls and see if I can let him in. It's not locked. Um,
I see his name now on the list.
hello.
Hello,
Yep.
everyone.
All right. Remind me, Bogdan, when we get done to try and figure out what that was. I don't want anybody excluded from our meetings. I didn't know we had closed registration.
I thought it became a private event.
It's possible that there's a 100-person limit, and a lot of people, might be a limit on the number that you can register for. So we'll figure that out. Okay. Um, so your idea, Don, of wanting to write write a record when it's successful, not only it could, for example, be used in that security scenario I was talking about a minute ago too. If you uh, if you write it to in an unverified state, then it would be stored in an entity, and then when it's time to verify it, you could read it back and compare it, and then it wouldn't be sitting on the form and wouldn't be guessable, right? Uh,
Right.
so that might play in. By the way, are these anonymous users, um, non-logged in users?
Non-logged in users, right.
Right. So might have to take advantage of a session variable just to keep track of that particular anonymous session, or use one of the there's a the ASPX. There's a couple of cookies that you could use to identify them as well. So okay. Um, so um, the thing that you just mentioned, the part where once they verify it and it's on an entity, if it were on an entity record and you updated the entity record from, you sent a verification, now it's a verified record. Um, if you did it that way, then your underlying form could look at the record and know that it's verified, and so it doesn't need it would just need to have an action to go out and look at that record. Um,
Right.
when before you explained that part of it, I was looking at this, which is a change of form token is a contribution in Campfire, this would let you directly set a field value on the close of the form, or so you've got a pop-up modal. It knows that it's working with an underlying form. It could actually change the field in the underlying form, and then so that you don't have to, the act of interacting with the pop-up form ends up sending information back to the lower level form, to the original form. So
Yeah, that'd be valuable.
so this explains how to do that. But yeah, I think the entity answer again uh, is a good way to do that. So this is for Bogdan and anybody else who joined late. This is where we're going. We're trying to do a one-time password, and we're just talking through some of the pieces. So we've talked about how to generate a 6-digit code, the possibility of using that contribution to set a field as verified. So then the the pop-up is another piece of the puzzle, and so that can be a form that's sitting next to your form, right? So you've got a page, it's got a form, and you pop up the form. But doing it as an embedded form sounds like it would be worth thinking about so that you could use it and reuse it in other places. Um, Plantanet supports being able to pop open an embedded form, so it's just a question of thinking through. It's going to have some standard inputs like um, maybe you give it a some kind of an identifier into the file that you were, um, your entity, so that it knows where to write its result. Um, Passing it the email that it's trying to verify so that it can um, send the email and get the verification back and things like that. So,
Mm.
um, and so we could potentially, would you like to try and write something like that?
I would love to see an embedded form, and I, I I certainly have done numerous forms on a page, and I get the idea of popping that particular form up, but I don't think I've ever done. I know I've never done um, this other way.
So, I haven't practiced this. We don't. You guys are going to have to keep me on track if I go off sides, but I think we can get there.
So the concept, overall concept is put the one-time password pop-up form on some page.
Yes.
Okay.
So we started a new form. We'll do it as a blank form. This is going to be our time password form, and I'm just at this point. I'm just going to add a title. This is I'm just going to kind of do a proof of concept here and make sure that we don't go too far before I get sideways. So um, we have a form on a page. That's the one-time password form. And then let's do another page that's going to have that's going to consume that, right? So we will add a page. Let's just call it check my email application as the page we'll create.
Mhm.
And so we'll manage that with a blank form. I'll ask for an email address, and let's see, we'll make this required, and we'll add a button that is called Verify Now. Right. You might want to do some work to make it automatic instead of having a button, but we'll, for simplicity purposes. So
I follow where you're going. I'm wondering if the audience has a best practice of when somebody stops typing or moves focus out of the email field. Is that a best practice for let's verify it now, or should you have an explicit click a button to verify before you can continue?
That might be dealer's choice. It's easy enough to do.
Right.
Usually when you're doing like two-factor authentication, it says, something like send code now.
Or
And then-
resend the code even.
Exactly. Then you give it an expiration time, 10 minutes or whatever. That's kind of been my experience. I don't know about anybody else.
All right. So, yeah. Anybody else with an answer to that question? So, sorry, I'm bopping around here. We got to open up. We got to have a couple of things going on here. So let's go back to this one-time password page. I'm gonna do this so I don't get lost. So, and then I'm going to open the form behind that. And in the settings, we want to embed this form. So we're looking at the embedding. We're going to turn that on. By the way, you have to remember to save that too. But this is the script that lets us embed the form somewhere else. And it says, let's see if we can get that to work. So we're back to our verify email now button, and we want to open that form. So I believe that is a am I going down the right path? Maybe I'm doing this completely the hard way. Let's look at
So just to make sure I understand it, you want to open a form from a different page, but on the same site?
yes.
Okay. I think I did that. Let me find an example. And I don't think I use embedded form. I think I used redirect to URL or something like that.
Yeah, but
I'll check it right now.
okay. I'm sorry. Now I remember. There's another. One of the ways to do this is to add a instance of this onto the page. So add existing module from one-time password page that is not a copy, but an instance. And it's on here. And then we want to make it, so embed is not the answer. We're going to turn that off. And we're making this a pop-up form then. So it is open in open manual is really what we want.
So I can show you the technique where you can do this without having to add the form to the page.
All right. Since I'm most of the way here, we'll do this, and then we'll explore that one as well. So now we can do open pop up and stop, and the one-time password is here on the page, and then so we'll do reinitialize, and we'll probably want to pass some query string parameters as well. But just from a proof of concept standpoint, we don't see it. We need an email address, and then the form pops up. So that's one way to do it, right? So now this form that could be centrally managed by on the one-time form page can exist in many places and be easily done. So Bogdan, you have another way, and do you want to show or talk?
It's on a live system, so I cannot show it, but I can guide you through it.
Okay.
So basically, you do the redirect to URL action.
Okay, so this is we'll do another verify button 2, and it is in so redirect to URL. And the URL looks something like this.
Yeah. So now we need to, if you go to that page, maybe put the first part should be that page, or whatever you have in the browser. Yeah, so contribution / exactly the whole thing. Yeah. So this should be up until MID. And then you need the module ID of that form that you want to open.
Is that one.
And I think that's it. The rest just says, yes, be in print mode, meaning it will not show the entire skin of the page, and forcing a skin that has no UI and a container that has no UI.
Where did that come from?
A
The rest of the
magic
query
thing.
string, it just you clicked it in, you copied or pasted it in.
Right.
Yes.
And I wouldn't be surprised if it's similar to
to the embed code, yes, or something.
So we look at the embed code, it's embedding this. And so I think we could have copied and pasted and it's that, yeah. Most of that, probably this. And let's validate this. I'm gonna
it's the same code that when you change containers and click preview, or change skin and click preview, that's the query string you're adding, is the
we are leveraging this feature from the end.
Gotcha.
All right, so we've got it here, and so now we should have another button that does essentially the same thing.
You should put open in popup checkbox on
redirect to URL. Exactly. I messed it up. All right, so let's make a couple more changes. First of all, I'm going to default this email field so I don't have to keep doing that. And in the buttons, in the redirect, open in pop-up. So interestingly, we're not getting our title, so we didn't succeed at it yet. Let's keep going. I'm going to go back to this and try copying that embed code. Maybe this is more direct what we need. So it makes me copy that whole thing. I'm gonna strip out to just get what I want. And this kind of demonstrates the technique as well. So that's the code I want to use. And I'm not actually going to save the embed. Oh, maybe it needs to be embed active. But anyway, we'll
No,
find
I don't think we'll find out, but
so now we've just copied that entire embed code URL. Save. Let's try again. Nope. So now what happens if we
is this form the other form with the code it should be initially visible? Yes, that's why it didn't show probably.
Okay.
So that code just loads a page. So if the form is not visible on that page, of course, it doesn't show.
So I needed it visible in order to do this one. So pick one technique. Let's go with Bogdan's, so we don't actually have to do any extra work. So I'm going to get rid of the direction that I started down. So we don't need the one-time password form on this page. We'll also get rid of the verify email now button. And so we're just doing it one way. So we're getting our form. So that's embedding a form. Quick reminder on how we got there. We used, by turning on the embed code, embedded inside here, there's the embed URL. If you grab all of that embed URL and use a redirect to URL action and paste it in there, open in popup, optionally pick a title, then you get the form showing as a pop-up. So very cool. So now we could generate, with that technique, we could generate, let's see, things that we could do. We want to, this redirect to URL, what we really want to do is to be able to verify an email address. So we're going to need to pass, for example, the email on the query string so that we have something to verify. And then you might want to pass more things like some kind of whatever the identifier is that you're going to use to get the information back. You were talking about perhaps putting it on an entity, but let's start with just putting the email in. So when the form opens, that's going to be on the query string. So now in our one-time password form, we can add a field, doesn't matter. I'm going to do a text field here and say email to verify, and the initial value will be get email. So this get is going to get it off the query string. It's looking for the email key, and so it's going to populate it into email to verify. And we're not going to have this enabled so that they can't do anything with it. So we now click the verify button, and the email is being passed to it. And so now you could build all of your logic, which would be send code, resend code, enter code into this form, and find a standard way to pass it back to the form that you called it from. And it might just be, if, like say, if you wrote it to an entity record, that then the later later actions within this form goes out and reads the entity record and makes sure it's there, that's verified.
It's very cool.
Does that get you where you want to go?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you. That's great.
Absolutely. Bogdan, thanks for the assist. A few more of you showed up, so I'll just ask first for any comments about this or ways that could be better or easier, or questions about what we just did. Then we'll go on to what else do you want to talk about?
Well,
Maybe to add to the solution that I was proposing, to tell you where that came from. That came from a dashboard that had a drill down. So this drill down was something shared for many different points on the dashboard. So then what I did, instead of loading the drill down on the dashboard page, since I have maybe multiple dashboards, I put it on a sub page. So then I'm keep reusing it with a query string. So I pass different data and the drill down happens with whatever I pass in the query string. So I think this has the benefit that it also makes the pages faster. You have one less forms that loads initially, but also reusability. It's another big thing. And I think I did the same with listings. Listings has the same concept. You can open it in a pop-up. And actually, it was the listing, I think, that I used, in fact, not the form. So yeah, I was using the listing for the drill now. So same concept works for listing as well. Just thought I'd give a broader perspective on how this technique can be used and why it's good.
So Bogdan, was that listing shared and reusable, or
Yes.
was that?
Yep.
So how did you get the data for? I assume each time you popped it up, depending where you popped it up from, would have different data in it.
Yep.
Is that true? So
Yep.
how did you get the new data into the other iterations of the form?
So same thing, you have that URL. So in that
Yeah.
URL, I passed data in query string. So for me, it was a dashboard. So I had things like a start date, end date to filter by a date, maybe filter by a category, so it had the page supported maybe 10 different filters. And from various places, I clicked a thing. Yeah, something like that. Exactly. And I would see it filtered by where I clicked. So if I clicked on a category, I would see all the listing for that category and filter by date. If I apply the date filter on the page, that would also get passed to the query string.
So to clarify, it was the same data set, but you filtered it differently based on where you called it from.
Exactly.
Okay. I thought you were saying, okay, let me have a generic listing, and let me send everything over and have it build it on the fly, which would have been really cool. But I understand. Thank you.
So yeah, designed reusable grid. And just to clarify, if you look for chart or this Cafe 165 data visibility, we talked about it a lot. We built this in Loco Cafe 165, 166. So there's a great example. So it's the same data. We're doing drill down. So if you want to see, we have $7,000 that's being shown here for our chart, and if we want to filter it to engineering, so we're filtering it by department, but this transaction grid is being used whether we're filtering by category or department or by name. So now we're filtering by category gifts, or if we need everything that was Alice Johnson, we can see her transactions. So nicely reusable listing. And that's really where we started with Don's original question, to point out that we can make a nice reusable one-time password thing and embed it in any form that needs it. So you just have to define how information gets into it and how information gets out of it. Cool. Haven't been here in a while. This is a nice reminder of, and it's the same thing. If you want to see this travel broken down, still clickable, but using chart.js, lots of good capability that's in there. So, okay, moving on to some other topic. Bogdan, since you've not, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you've not been um, at, at this particular event for a little while. Is there anything either that you want, any big product announcements that you want to make, or any questions that you want to ask from this illustrious group?
Not today, but hopefully I will start joining more often, and I will
We've
bring topics.
We've been bringing up our new forms product a lot in the weeks past, and so we're trying to do a pretty good announcement about where we're going.
Everybody excited about that?
Yes.
Yes,
Looking forward
definitely.
to it. Yeah, for sure.
And I've expressed my appreciation a couple of times, but I'll do it again. When we talk through, we've been kind of doing it in the format of here's where we think we're going to do in the product. Here's our plan. Help me think this through. We've been getting some good suggestions and feedback that it's nice to be able to build that into the plan before, as we're building it, rather than reacting to, hey, you forgot that, you forgot my thing. So, for example, we got better with our save draft feature because we talked about it here. So I'm excited for us to build it so that you can see what we got out of this. Anyway. So on the community portal, that's people can ask general questions and you guys can help answer them and we'll help answer them as well. So there was a question about the debugging files, the log files, and what's there. And yeah, this is a little bit of I think the story is in motion a little bit that we add more log files or sometimes there's a variety of logs that get written and what the ability to control them are. And this is an area I have some questions too, because I think some of our we're moving towards uh, Serolog. And again, Bogdan, I'm just leaning on you uh, because you're here. But do you have a sense of what I mean, we've introduced this new logging format and what the design decision behind that format was?
We actually reverted the format. So the format, I think in 128 already or in 2.0, I'm not sure. It will be back to whatever the format was before, meaning the more human-friendly format. But just so you know, DNN also, I'm not sure if they already did it or are about to do it. They switched to Serilog, but they kept the format. So meaning the logging library changed, but they kept the human-friendly format. But manually, you can change it back to JSON. The JSON is very useful if you have a system for handling logging, because then you can collect all these JSONs from all the systems and consume it in a very structured way compared to just reading lines of logs manually. So that's the benefit of the JSON format.
So the logging library lets you pick different output formats. Yep. There's at least two. And then one of the up until now, this has been controlled. Was the old log library log4net? Is that?
Yes. Yep.
So This it was controllable here at the configuration manager level. There is a underlying configuration file for Serolog. I'm not sure that we've revealed that yet, other
I
than
think it is in the documentation somewhere.
um, I, I've seen a internal wiki talking about it, that where it lives, but it's in terms of it being on the file system for editing, not um, within the um, something that's accessible through the DNN UI. So um, I think that's an area that we can, one way or another, we have to explain how to get to it, because the logging um, in the older Log4Net functionality, there is this ability to now I have to refresh persona bar glitch there. The ability to set different logging levels, and so when you're trying to track down something that's broken, oftentimes these are set to an error level of error, or a level of error, meaning only errors show up, and sometimes it's useful for debugging purposes to turn these to a different setting so that you see much more stuff in your log, giving clues about what's going on. But certainly errors are the main thing. Okay, so that's a story in motion. We'll give more as we go. Let's see what else. This question was something we dealt with last week. Already established, nothing new got added to local Campfire, so we are down to, are you working on anything interesting that you either want to show off or ask about? Get help from the group. The hardest part
I
is for
like
me.
I
Please
like that question, Dale. I like to take advantage of it at a future date. Sounds good.
show and tell. Yeah. I was going to say, this is the hardest part for me, to stop talking long enough to make one of you respond. So, okay. Well,
Speaking of show and tell, was wondering if you took a look at Jeremy's DNN show and tell videos on YouTube.
I didn't, but that's worth another mention. I made arrangements to make sure that I showed up at the next one. I haven't done the playback on the previous one, but we talked about it last week. So Jeremy France is doing a monthly, I think it's first Tuesday, we decided, 30-40 minute Zoom, that finding things to demonstrate within the DNN platform and module vendors as well. And it's my intention to attend and at some point to present. But it's an interesting format, 5 minute. Just do a quick 5 minute demo. Speed dating, DNN speed dating, right?
Exactly. And it turns out longer because the presentation that you give needs to be 5 minutes, but then people ask questions, and so the video turns into 15 or 20, depending on the interest of the group that's there and the questions that you get. And that's what happened with mine. I did a little something last time using EasyDNN. But next time, I'm not positive. I got to talk with Jeremy if I'm on the agenda for next month or if it's the month after. But I'm going to revisit that same application. And what I did was, because EasyDNN's interface, is beautiful as it is too slow for what I was trying to accomplish, what my wife's trying to accomplish, that I created a Plantain app page for her that actually updates or fills in the EasyDNN database with new articles. Just basically the shell of a new article, and drops it in there very quickly so she can go through it very quickly and add, and be done. rather than using EasyDNN's interface. And I'm going to be showing that. So it'll be highlighting or showcasing Plan an App and how Plan an App can help you in a very different way.
Very nice. Well, we certainly will appreciate the plug. And as I said, I intend to be at these going forward. I'm glad that somebody is advancing that idea. All right, we're down to final thoughts. We got 4 minutes, still time to ask a question. All right, then we will just call it there. And I will just say thank you all for attending, and it was a good session. Thanks for the question in advance, Don, and we are happy to do those. Hope we added some value, and actually, we would love to see the perfected system completely debugged by next week.
I may have to do that. Yes.
But with that, we'll say goodbye, and if you have a minute, hang around for Afterglow. All right, thanks all.